Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for iPad today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
Coming up, we're finally running iOS 6, and we have some good news and some bad news.
Plus, Google is beefing up their photo team. Twitter's got a new iPad app, speaking of bad news. And we'll show you how to take back control of your transit maps.
All that, and it's football season for left-handed throwers on iPad today.
You throw like a boy.
You throw like a girl.
iPad Today is brought to you by Go to My PC. From Citrix, Go to My PC connects you directly to your Office Mac or PC from any other computer or from your iPad or iPhone too. Sign up for a 30-day free trial today at gotomypc.com and use the promo code iPad. And by audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, visit audiblepodcast.com/iPad today. And by Ford. Ford invites us tech geeks to join the conversation, submit ideas, and grab your Tech Geek badge at social.ford.com. Welcome to iPad Today, the show where we celebrate the iPad today.
And everything iPad-ish.
It's been it's been an exciting couple of days because tomorrow, as we record this, tomorrow the iPhone 5 arrives in people's hands. But yesterday, at about 10 in the morning our time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, iOS 6 arrived.
That's right.
And so we've all been updating like little demons.
Yeah, in fact, TNT had started right around the time that it became available, and my iPhone had updated completely within the hour of the show, although I didn't have time to play with it. So really, yesterday was all about trying to figure out, okay, what's the obvious new stuff that we knew would be there and that I could just chill with.
So is this show going to be dedicated to what's new for the iPad with iOS 6?
It's going to be partly dedicated, not completely. I mean, I think that we've covered iOS 6 enough in the past, what we're expecting, what we think is going to be cool, and some of that stuff is now just available, which is great, but we all sort of are on the same page about that.
Yeah.
But there have been some surprises. For example, Maps. People said Maps are going to be different.
And they are.
iOS 6 no longer powered by Google Maps. This is a combination of data from TomTom and OpenStreetMaps that Apple has put together in its own customized app of maps, and people are mad.
Yeah, it's interesting to read
it.
different reactions. Jim Dalrymple, there are a few people who, including MG Siegler, your friend, who got iPhone 5s a week ago, so they've had them for a week. And Jim Dalrymple was one of them from The Loop, and he said, I drove around, it was great, and he didn't have any problem with it. Then there was David Pogue and Walt Mossberg from the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, respectively, both of whom called out Maps and said, you know, it's not bad, but it may not be as good as you're used to. And then there are some, and I'm not sure where I sit in this scale, but there are some who are just really upset. You do lose a few things. Transit directions are gone. But this is the first time that Maps has had turn-by-turn directions. We've had to use third-party apps and pay for them in the past. I used them today. Am I a little noisy on my mic?
Yeah, it's
I used them today to drive from Santa Rosa to here. And not a very challenging ride, but the directions were accurate.
Yeah.
They were not as complete as some of the standalone GPSs. For instance, some of them, Waze, I think of, will tell you a lot more about what's going on, how fast you're going, what your destination time, arrival time will be based on traffic. The Apple Maps didn't do this, but supposedly Apple Maps will tell us how fast the traffic condition is based on other iOS users. And they say, although I didn't see any of this, hazards, road hazards and accidents will show up too. It does look in some ways very much like the old one. I'm going to go to the standard view, which is a little prettier, frankly, than the Google Maps. You can zoom in.
See, I feel like it almost looks like...
It looks like OpenStreetMap is what it looks like.
Well, there's something with the contrast. There's not enough between street
light, huh?
and blocks. It looks almost like
Well, you could turn on the hybrid,
children's
which is
book
what
or
I use, and then you have the satellite
a little
view.
of everything.
And
the satellite's
and it does,
great.
And it does a good job. There's a 3D button. Now, if you're in a city where they've mapped 3D, it'll actually give you 3D. Here, it just kind of tilts it into a weird kind of angle. You don't have as much control as you had with Google Maps. It does have traffic, so I don't see it yet, but I guess as more people use it, you'll have traffic. The other thing that maybe is the biggest issue is that you no longer have Google Places as your database. Google pulled from a lot of databases for its points of interest. Apple's pulling from Yelp.
That's right.
So if you're not in Yelp, you better get in Yelp real quick.
What a win for Yelp, you know?
Huge for Yelp. Now we are, you know, somebody said, oh, TWiT's not in there. But no, we're on Yelp, and in fact, if you tap where we are right now, you can get Yelp information. And all of this is from the Yelp, as far as I can tell, from the Yelp. There's the Yelp reviews. And some photos too. None
of that Google Street View inside the TWiT brick house, though. Which we just got last week.
I like that. I mean, there's you know, I think this is, for a first product, it's not bad.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. And I haven't had the same. I haven't been able to duplicate some of the serious issues that people have had.
What are people complaining about?
Well, people complaining that, you know, okay, so I'm looking at San Francisco right now, and you can see on the Bay Bridge, there's some traffic issues because they got that little red area.
Good. So they do have traffic. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. This is all stuff that you kind of have to know what that means, but it's pretty easy to figure out. These are all places that I know that there is traffic, so that's good to have. Here's what people are complaining about, and particularly overseas, it sounds like the U.S. is maybe the data is a little bit more complete than, say, in the UK, where folks have said, my town isn't even named the right town. It's just the wrong name.
That's not
completely.
Good.
There were some reports of satellite imagery over certain towns in Scotland where the clouds were so thick you actually can't see anything. Probably would want to redo that at some point. You mentioned, I think before the show, that somebody who works in the government in Ireland said, there's an airfield. It's called airfield, but it's actually a farm where there's like restaurants.
It's kind of a park, yeah.
People and animals. And it's listed as an airport, and if you're flying a small plane and you're in trouble, what if you try to land it there and you hurt somebody?
I think you got a bigger problem if your pilot is using Apple's maps to navigate. I would hope that they'd be using something a little better, but maybe let's say they dropped the maps out the window and all they had was an iPhone. You're right, they might land in the wrong place.
The point is, there's a lot of stuff that's either misleading or it's wrong.
Somebody in the chat room said, zoom all the way out in the satellite mode, and you get this beautiful globe. I mean, it's really pretty.
See, Apple's good at pretty.
They're good at pretty. I wish it kept spinning, though.
That 3D rendering of San Francisco is a lot of fun for me to fly over.
Yeah.
I like the globe because I like globes.
Right.
That's all great. But what you really want is when you're in an unfamiliar place, and what if I'm in an unfamiliar place that happens to not be that just doesn't render well in maps, that's where I'm going to get upset.
Right.
I mean, maps are, you use them because you're confused and you need a little help getting from point A to point B. So that's really the colors and the, you know, sort of the flashy stuff. That's all fine and good, and we won't all care about this in a couple of weeks. But
well, there's another larger question, which is oh boy, look at this is the 3D in San Francisco. That does look pretty. That does look pretty cool.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
But it's a novelty, right? You're not going to be doing this more than once or twice.
It doesn't help you with navigation.
This is something that you show someone, and you guys go, whoa, cool, and that's it.
It's nice because I think it's actual photo imagery. But the Google does this as well. So the real question is, when's Google going to offer their version of Google Maps, and will Apple approve it? Because Google could put it right back on the Mac, on the iPad, just by offering it for download.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot of incentive to do so.
I believe Google gave a quote to Search Engine Land earlier this morning that said, we want Google Maps and Google products to be available on all OSs and all devices. They didn't say, and that means that within 2 weeks, you know, we've now submitted an app to the App Store. So they could, this was a question that I was wondering about earlier, they could withhold it and make Android look better.
Drew Olenoff suggested that they do that in the nextweb.com in his column. They also may have been saying, and this was unclear, and I think Danny mentioned this, maybe they just meant the mobile version of Maps in the browser, because that does, in fact, work pretty well. It looks, in fact, if you go to it, it looks pretty much like the app did.
Well, and you can give yourself a little home screen
you
shortcut, you know, that
tap
that
on the
makes
arrow,
it
then
feel
add
like
to
an
home
app.
screen. So you could totally do that. And it you know, so.
And those are the maps you know and love.
And
Yeah,
it's got directions and everything.
I think there's a little bit of a crazy backlash because people don't like change. And this is indeed one of these things that it does look different and it acts different and in some cases is inferior.
I think it's definitely inferior. It's a 1.0.
There's also a lot of context stuff missing. So for example, if you're already in Petaluma and you search for a restaurant name, you know, in Google Maps, there's the context of Google saying, I know that you mean the restaurant in Petaluma, not the one with the same name in Nevada somewhere. And Apple Maps doesn't have all of that information yet. So you might get kicked out of where you are and you're like, that's not what I meant. Google Maps just, I think there's a certain amount of taking it for granted that I did until I started realizing, Apple Maps doesn't work that way yet. That's something that can be added to the database over time. It's going to get smarter. It's not going to get worse, it's going to get better. But it's frustrating for people right now.
Had Apple done this when they first shipped iOS, everybody would have said, fine, it's going to get better. There's a problem that Apple says, you know, we believe in our users, we want to support users, we want to give them the best experience. And they had a good experience, but because it was from Google, Apple took it out. And I think that's the problem is, well, okay, fine, Apple, but don't you care about your users? Why are you replacing a perfectly good product, albeit from another company, with a less good product from yourself? And so that just doesn't, I think it doesn't reflect well on Apple to make that kind of a change. However, there are plenty of good turn-by-turn apps. You know, we've talked many of them. I love Waze. I love MotionX GPS Drive. Those are both excellent turn-by-turn apps. And I love, in fact, I've always used them, even in preference to the Google Maps app on the iPad.
We also don't know for a fact that it was Apple that said, screw you, Google, we're in a fight.
I guess it could have been Google.
They had a contract that came up, and they might not have been able to come to terms. We just don't know.
We don't know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Apple to be petty enough to say, you know what, users going to suffer in the short term because we don't want to be part of anything Google does anymore, at least not baked into our OS. But we don't know that for a fact.
Yeah,
could have been Google.
It's purely speculative.
So what happens to people who are upset that their transit directions have been stripped out of their app?
Well, fortunately, there's good news. There is and I guess this is really kind of underscores the whole argument. Yeah, well, these are the apps that come from Apple, but Apple has 700,000 apps you can buy or download on your iPad, so you don't have to feel like you're stuck. Dan, I think it was Dan in our chat room who told me about HopStop, which is a transit app that actually is better than anything heretofore. It's free.
Yeah, I talked about it on i5
It's a fantastic app. So you can say, I'm going to start here and I want, look at this, you can have bus or light rail, taxi, walking, or bicycling directions to anybody, anywhere. Let's say I want to go to Sutro Tower in San Francisco. Now, that's way down the peninsula, but I'm going to get bus directions, connection directions. It will route me. I didn't type it right. Let's see if it's smart enough to... yeah, it didn't because I didn't type
it's like, where?
San Francisco. Yeah, no, San Francisco. I never can type right when I'm talking.
Well,
there is a Sutro Tower in San Francisco, isn't there?
Yes, there absolutely
this is not good. It's not recognizing it. So let's do...
I don't know that it would consider Sutro Tower a place to go, though.
Let's do... Where should I go? Where do you... Cafe Biron.
Yeah, okay.
You go there a lot. B-I-R-O-N,
it's Hotel
right?
Biron.
It's hotel... Well, see...
Why don't you Coit Tower? That's a nice...
That's what I was thinking of, Coit Tower.
Is that what you were
Why
thinking
didn't you
of?
Stop me?
Well, because I thought maybe he wants to go to the radio tower up on the
Oh,
sunset.
there is a radio tower. You're right.
Yeah.
So we'll just pick somewhere. I don't know why it keeps trying to get me to go to San Jose. So I'm going to go to San Jose. And so it'll give you directions that involve mass transit. It also has things like stops, bus stops, and schedules, so you can see where the stations are nearest to you.
And you can also say something like, no, I only want to be on a train.
Right.
Or a train or a bus, but I don't want to walk.
Transit maps from a lot of different cities. Let's go to New York. And you see we have subway, Manhattan bus, Bronx bus. We've got the PATH. We've got the Long Island Railroad. Let's take a look at the New York City subway map. This is great. This is a wonderful app. It's absolutely free, called HopStop. Has
and it's
schedules.
in quite a few cities, actually.
Oh,
you think, oh, this is only going to be in New York, it's San Francisco, and it's actually many, many cities in the U.S.
This is much more
London,
capable
too.
than the transit directions that work with Google Maps. You should be using this instead. If you're in New
HopStop is
York,
awesome. You know, the last time I was in New York, I got off the plane and I don't know, I got in a mood and I was like, I don't want to take one of those taxis. It's going to be expensive. There's got to be a better way. And I fired up HopStop. I asked somebody, I didn't even know what it was yet. I asked somebody at the airport, hey, what do you use? They said HopStop. I said, okay, let's try this out. I got on the Long Island Railroad. I took it from Queens to,
I know that
to
trip.
Penn Station.
That's the way to do it.
It was like $2 or something. It was a little bit more than that, but it was way less than, you know, the $55 cab ride.
Exactly.
And I felt so awesome. I felt so
And
smart.
that's a good example because that's kind of complicated. You have to
I didn't know-
transfer
I
at
wouldn't have
Astoria
known that.
Station.
Exactly.
You have to take the airplane train to the
It
Astoria
was
Station and
easy,
transfer.
but it's not like the airport is putting you
not
in,
obvious.
you know, they're not saying, here's what you do to get
Right.
into Manhattan.
Right.
They
No,
take
I
you
like
to the
this.
taxi stand.
So, you know,
yeah, it worked really well.
And this is my answer really to people who say, well, Maps is terrible. Yeah, but that's just the Apple Maps, and you don't have to use Apple Maps. There's lots of other choices. This is a very rich platform.
That's HopStop. It's totally free, too, which is awesome.
Love it.
Hey, so what do you think about our new clock?
I thought that was, you know, I thought that was the strangest thing. Why provide a clock? After all
not?
these years.
Well,
it was one of the
because-
things missing when the iPad came out. There was no clock. There is on the iPhone.
How about this? We have dedicated entire episodes of this show to different clock apps. I think Apple is finally like, wait a second, people really like clock apps. Maybe we should make our own.
Yeah, but it's been done now.
But
Is this a great
Now-
app? I didn't even look at it.
well, yeah, it's great. So I've added cities that I don't know, I thought would be interesting. These are not necessarily the default cities. I've got San Francisco, New York, Buenos Aires, Paris, New Delhi, and Tokyo. So I'm all over the map. And if you want to add something, then how do you do this? Do you edit?
I find this so interesting. I mean,
I
this is
forget.
okay. It's not as good as some of the third-party apps out there. I'm not sure why Apple did this, but didn't add they didn't add a weather app, did they? A lot of the iPhone, there were several.
No,
There's
you
stocks,
just
weather,
add.
and clocks were missing on iOS.
Right.
On the iPad when it came out, that they were already on the iPhone. So a whole third-party ecosystem of weather apps and stock apps that are great, by the way, and clock apps have emerged. Now Apple says, maybe we should do a clock.
Yeah. Well, not only a clock, but a clock, alarm, stopwatch, and timer all in one. It's very nice looking.
It's pretty.
It looks like a
black and
Swiss
white.
Army kind of.
It's not skeuomorphic. I admire them for that.
It's lovely.
There's no leather
You
stitching.
can see who's in the dark based on the color of the clock.
That works well.
It works fine. I think there are probably some folks out there who say, yeah, I never really downloaded any of those alarm apps, and now that I have
It's
one on
very
my iPad
strange.
without even trying, I might actually end up using it.
You know why I find it annoying? I
why?
can't remove it.
Well, you could bury it on
I
some
do. I
back
bury it
page.
in my ginormous clocks
why,
folder.
Why does the clock bother you so much that you have to bury it? Well, you have a clocks folder, so that's where it's supposed to go.
I put it in the clocks folder where everything else is
I think
relegated.
you're making a big deal out of a feature that has been given to
No,
you.
you're right.
Like a little gift and a little
It's
wrapped
a little
up
gift.
present.
I just don't get it.
With a ribbon.
I just don't get it. By the way, Werner's telling us in the chat room the Swiss
nice
Railroad is mad at Apple because it turns out their clocks look just like the Swiss Railroad.
Totally does,
clocks.
by the way. True story.
Isn't
Looks
that
just
funny?
like it. I don't know if they can actually get anywhere with that besides be mad. This is a beautiful stopwatch. Now, stopwatch is something I've never once used on any device ever. I just don't know why.
I used a
How?
Believe it or not, you're gonna laugh.
and
Because
maybe
I would
for
have agreed with you.
categories I could
Yesterday,
use
I used a stopwatch.
it. For what?
I was testing the boot time on that Dell computer.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I have.
All right,
You're right.
all
I
right.
have never, ever used it. I mean, I don't even use an egg timer.
Well, I guess this would be. This
Yesterday,
could be
I
that.
used
It could almost be a kitchen. Well, anyway.
I
it's-
think, you know, the thing that was missing and that we were
there.
puzzled by when the iPad came out is why is there no alarm clock?
Yeah.
And now there is.
Now look at this. I'm looking
Comes
at
with an
Buenos
alarm
Aires.
clock.
This is a beautiful. You could even have this. You know, maybe you're really paying attention to what your coworker is doing in a different time zone. And I mean, this is a beautiful large clock. It's very nice looking. Be quiet, Leo. Now we have Paris, 55 degrees. So there's your weather.
That does look like, wait a minute, you know what? It's the second hand that's the giveaway. That makes it look like the Swiss clock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Swiss railway clocks. It's that big round dot on the second hand. That's a dead giveaway.
Well, I mean, okay.
CNET
I guess Apple could probably handle another lawsuit.
CNET is reporting that it's a trademarked design. The new look came in a report in a Swiss newspaper. Taj Anzeiger, by way of Mac Rumors, a Swiss Federal Railway Services, says it owns a trademark. It was designed in 1944 by Hans Hilfiger, Tommy's older cousin. And it's used in station clocks throughout the railway system. Licensed to Mondain, a Swiss watch manufacturer. The spokesman said he was pleased Apple was using the design, but noted that they were not authorized to do so.
So now what happens? They have to change the look of their beautiful clock app? I love it, though. Can't you guys just figure out a licensing agreement?
By the way, in 2009, Apple rejected tap bots, saying the clock icon the company used in its Pocket Converter application looked too much like Apple's own clock icon.
So, what are we saying? Pot kettle black here type thing?
Well, I mean, look at it. It's exactly the same.
Well, okay. That's the clock app. Oh, it is very similar.
Oh, Lord. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny.
Loud in here today. Hey, so what do you think about Siri on the iPad?
Love it.
You pumped?
Yeah.
Have you been having
and
fun?
It's better than it used to be.
It is.
It has more capabilities.
You can tell Siri to launch things, for example.
I didn't know that.
Well, not everything, but
Let
yes.
me see. Can I say launch clocks? Launch clocks. Let's see. This is, I don't like that it's just a little, look.
Hey. Hey.
That's huge. You couldn't do that before.
I know. In fact, that was my #1 frustration. I think I had said it before, is I want to be able to control all my apps, not just the inner workings or look things up on the internet. I want to launch stuff.
So just like on the
Chrome.
iPhone, but if you're an iPad user, you've never used the iPhone, you may not know, you press and hold the home button until Siri pops up. It asks you a question. Do tap the I because it'll give you an idea of some of the things Siri can do here. It gives you a list of all, where's Brian? Define mitosis. Note that I spent $12 on lunch.
Yeah, if you're using Siri for the first time, it's helpful to kind of go through
National
some of those
League
commands.
standings. If you're a sports fan, Siri has gotten much smarter.
These are the standings for the National League.
On sports, which I love. And by the way, just checking, yep, Giants still 9 games up over the LA Dodgers.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
This season is sweet, like a sugary treat that I cannot have.
Siri is only for the new iPad. And is it the iPad 2? No, it's just the new iPad, not iPad 1 or 2.
Is it not iPad 2 either?
I can't remember.
Is that right?
Let's ask, what are the scores in the women's NBA?
The Heat won the NBA Finals 4-1 over the Thunder. They won the last game 121-106.
The WNBA is in there.
That's amazing.
That is a huge day for women.
Yeah. Women power. Equality for all. At least when it comes to Siri. So yeah, people are saying it's just the new iPad.
Title IX, baby.
So that's a bummer. That's just a bummer. You can update to iOS 6, but no Siri.
Which makes me wonder if it'll be in the
can't
Mini.
Update to iOS
It won't be in the
6.
Mini then, too, right? Because the Mini is, according to rumor, iPad 2.
How could you possibly roll out the iPad Mini and not have Siri? Well, I mean, it's possible. I just think that's that's very weird.
This is not the women's NBA. This is the men's NBA from June. But, Siri probably, maybe if I said, let's try it. WNBA scores.
The Fever were bested by the Sun yesterday. The final score was
There you go.
73-67.
See, I said women's instead of W. So
Oh.
that's pretty good. You got to say WNBA.
Okay.
The Fever were bested by the Sun.
Oh, I'm sorry,
How
the
often
Fever.
does that happen?
Who are where's the Fever from? It seems like, you're sick. You're feverish. Ah, somebody give me a Tylenol. I've got a fever.
I don't know where. I think they play.
Where are
They
they
play in
from?
Connecticut. I think. I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad. I like Siri, and I use. You know what? I've been using it for a while on the iPad at the dictation feature of Siri, but now this brings the full Siri to the iPad, which is great. So press and hold the home button, and start chatting away with your new friend. Uses its messages. Did the Giants win? Give me. Oh, it does tie to maps. So that's another nice feature. Is I could say, give me directions home, and it would tie into the Maps app.
That too.
That's a nice feature.
That is, yeah, because
Which
it's
probably won't happen with other apps, mapping apps.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Not, yeah, certainly
What
not
movies
that
are
level.
playing? I'm sorry, I'm easily amused.
Yes, you are.
Okay, I found some movies playing nearby for today.
Do you?
There are a lot of people who are watching this show who have iPad.
That's a nice
new
presentation.
iPads. I don't like calling it iPad 3 because I like to.
New iPads.
I don't want to upset Apple.
Right.
But they have new iPads that are now just being able to use Siri for the first time, and it is really fun.
And it's
not
pretty. And this is
perfect.
something you couldn't do until the new iOS 6 came out. Things like movie time. That's a nice presentation. It's beautiful.
Hey, speaking of
what do you think about it
movies-
being small on the screen though, like that? Does that feels like it should be up?
Does it? I mean, it's. I don't know.
And notifications are also small, right? They don't take up the whole.
I actually kind of like how it's not covering up completely what you might be in the middle of doing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes
True.
you just say, oh, wait, let's ask Siri real quick,
Yeah,
and then
good
I got to
point.
go back to
Okay.
what I was doing.
I'm sorry. You said speaking of movies.
Well, speaking of movies, no Passbook.
I didn't even notice that.
Passbook
It's on
the iPhone, not on the iPad. Hello. Somebody, I think it was Tom earlier, was like, yeah, but you're not carrying your iPad around when you're going to the movies or you're going to Starbucks. And it's like, yeah, I am sometimes. What if you're going straight to the movies from work and you got a backpack on?
Play Radiohead.
Or your phone runs out of batteries and your iPad's the backup.
I do think it should have that.
Yeah, what's the problem?
Play Radiohead.
It should be my prerogative if
Does
I
it play
wanna.
music? Will it play music if I ask it for music?
Well, I think it has to be in your library.
Oh. That's cool if it'll play music. That's nice. These are many of the features that were in Android, but not before. I'm sorry, go ahead.
But do you agree with me?
Yes.
That it's weird?
Why is Passbook not on this? I mean, if they want it to be a universal thing. But you never, Apple's funny. Why wasn't Siri on this?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's not the end of the world. If Passbook did credit cards and they had NFC, then I would say, wow, that's strange. But all it does is like Fandango and
I just feel like, sure, the iPad, it makes a little bit less
Starbucks.
sense for Passbook, but so does the camera, and we all wanted it,
Right.
and they eventually gave it to us. So be loud, complain vocally.
Where is my Passbook?
Get our Passbook.
I want
I actually
it.
haven't really played around with Passbook that much. I haven't had an opportunity
I don't have
to
any
in the
loyalty
last
cards.
24 hours. What about airlines?
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Oh, okay.
Keep your airline information in your Passbook.
I usually tell them when I buy the ticket, and that's all I have to do. They already know, so I don't really have to tell them. Do you ever flash your airline frequent flyer card? Like say, hey, I'm a gold card member.
Well, I'm not a very cool one, but I type in the number so that I get
Well,
free
I put it
flights
in when I
every
buy the
3
ticket.
years.
Yeah.
All right, fine. So
Just
I
a
don't
thought.
think you need Passbook.
I don't
think you want it.
I think that's really the problem. Is
I don't
the
think you're
Passbook
gonna appreciate
is
it.
not a feature-rich application yet. It's not something you really need yet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, these are
So who
apps that are
cares?
going to continue rolling
Right,
out.
right.
Well, then you could say, who needs it on the iPhone? And we're all kind of excited about that. So I just say there's really no compelling reason to not give it to me on my iPad. What if my iPhone drops in the toilet again, and I want all my information?
All right.
I got two hands. I can carry
Beatmaster
it.
says, "What do you want? You got a free clock." Let's not, you're asking the world here.
I'm sorry. I want the world. I want the whole
You got
world.
a free Swiss clock, and you want Passbook.
Give it to me now. Okay, so we have a new iTunes look.
I do not like this
Why
at
not?
all.
Why not?
Okay, well, first of all, I go to the App Store, and I'm very confused because it looks like I'm now in iTunes as well. I don't understand. So this is
What's
the App
problem?
Store.
Let's walk through your discomfort.
This is the App Store, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and these are apps.
Correcto.
But then when you buy, here, let me buy something.
Ooh, new Krayshawn album.
Okay, let's install cards. So then it's installing, and then it seems like it. See, now I'm in. What am I in? Am I in iTunes?
It's all iTunes. We've been over this. It's all iTunes,
I'm
which is the root
lost.
of everyone's confusion because they go,
I
is
need
it
a map.
iTunes or is it an app store? It's all iTunes.
Okay, it's all iTunes. I don't like this.
You don't like the cover flow type thing?
I don't mind the iTunes so much, the music stuff, but I don't like how it's handling apps now. This is weird, this whole thing.
See, I kind of like it. So, for example, I've got 25 updates. Everybody's rolling out
You don't have to enter your password for updates anymore. That's nice.
Which is, I tweeted that last night. It's like, I know that's not the biggest thing in the
But
world.
that was annoying.
Very annoying because I have complicated long passwords.
It makes me wonder, though, why it asked you in the first place.
Well, I think that it was a security thing.
Yeah.
But you figure if you've already paid for the app, then your kid isn't accidentally going to buy anything because you still need to enter your password to pay.
So it's only for free apps.
It's updates.
Or updates.
Well,
that you've
and
already
also,
bought.
I am prompted for free apps still.
So if
Just
you
give me
buy-
the
if you
password
buy
for the
an-
first time.
But see, he didn't ask for my password to download Cards.
Just now?
Yeah. And that's a free app.
Cards?
Cards, you know that Apple app?
Well, maybe it's because it's an Apple app.
All right.
Try to download a free app that's not made by Apple. Come on now. Use your big boy
What?
head.
It's Pop-Tarts free? Pop-Tarts?
Calm down. Just give it a second. Good grief. See?
Ah!
There you go.
So that was because it was an Apple app.
Yeah.
So
but
just ask me for the password.
once you have already downloaded an app,
The updates,
so
no password.
I'm on my updates page right now, which, by the way, I think this looks a lot nicer. Not a huge change, but it's definitely a bit of a difference.
But now here,
here's the more
I'm
area.
downloading the iTunes Festival. That's an Apple app,
go
and it's
ahead,
asking me for my password.
Update all. What's nice is that
You just press update all. Why? Okay, another question. Why'd they move the update all button from the right to the left?
because
There's no good reason, and it was always on the right. So I
know.
Why?
Because you've got a nice handy search bar on the right-hand side. Didn't used to be there before, and that really bothered me about the iPad App
The
Store.
search goes away.
You had
You're
search
right.
in the bottom nav on
That
the
was
iPhone,
a bad thing.
not on the iPad. So you
No.
always have to go to categories
I'll grant
first.
you that.
So, thank you. You better grant me that.
I grant you that. So
It is
that's
very good.
They've
good-
actually fixed that because you couldn't. You would have to leave the updates area to search for something.
So annoying.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So, now
annoying.
it's consistent across all of the.
Also, once you start updating, so I'm updating, what, 25 apps now? You see the progress on the updates page
On the
itself,
apps.
rather than it kicking
Love
you
that.
back to the home screen.
All right. You're right. You're winning me over. This
Thank
is
you.
a good update.
It's good.
Yeah.
I think so.
You're winning me over. What else?
Genius, I also turned on Genius. It's kind of fun to search for apps that way.
You know, okay, I got one little question.
All right.
In my Genius, it keeps recommending, first of all,
Something you don't want?
well, yeah, it keeps recommending ham stuff. Now, it's not that I don't want it, but, you know, it's supposed to be based on other apps on the,
Right.
but it's not only because it says based on Google search. Now, my Google search is not related to ham apps. It's because I must have searched on Google for ham apps. Are you watching my searches? Is that what you're doing?
What? Well,
Mr. Genius?
based on Google search.
It says
Didn't you
based on,
just-
and it's
didn't you
all the ham apps are based on Google search.
Well-
Ham radio reference based on Google search. I don't know that. And then my son, not me, bought a program called Wobble.
Okay.
You know what that is?
No. Is it about? What is it about? Is it related to physiology?
Yes. Perfect. Let's leave it at that. Okay. And now, for some reason, because he bought Wobble, which is related to physiology, I'm getting a lot of recommendations for music programs. Because you liked Wobble, you'd like the Korg
So what you say is
Oscillator.
not interested, and then it gets smarter.
But I don't know, why are they related? I mean, I can see why Flickr for Instagram.
This is like that Pandora station where you first load it up because you want to hear Bruce Springsteen, and you're like, that's really weird. Why am I hearing Alice in Chains? Thumbs down, and it gets smarter over time. It's the genius.
So I should say not interested.
Just doesn't start out very smart. It becomes a genius.
I've
with your help.
I've got to teach it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got to do it. Got to teach
It would be.
the
You'd
genius.
know what Wobble it was if I called it Jiggle.
I mean, so many things can jiggle, but I think
get the idea.
I think we're on the same page. Yeah.
So I should teach it. I should say
Flo
no.
Rida
I'm not
sings about this
interested
kind
in
of
the
stuff.
Korg IK oscillator or the
Wobble.
Phylotron from Moog. Actually, I do like synthesizers. And the funny thing is, I have Korg and Moog apps on my iPad. It should be recommending it based on those, but instead it's recommending it based on an app that is not on my iPad, Wobble. Where does it getting this information from? It's keeping track of what I've bought in the past.
You said that your son downloaded Wobble.
Not on my machine, on his.
Same iTunes account?
We're on the same account.
So that's, again,
But
it's
it's-
Apple trying to be helpful, not realizing
Shouldn't
that
it look at what's on my iPad, though?
your
not-
apps are synced via iCloud.
Right. I guess
So-
but well, okay, we've learned a couple things. It looks at your Google searches and it looks at everything you've ever bought on a single account. So that tells you something.
There's another thing. There's another thing, and we're not going to list
I think it's me
every
that hasn't
single.
had any sugar, not you.
Why?
Because
Why?
I'm feeling cranky now.
Well, you are.
A
You're not
jerk.
really actually cranky. You have your moments.
I have my moments.
You overreact, and then you say, "I'm sorry."
I'm going to
so
underreact
sorry.
now.
I'm so sorry.
Here's one more thing I like. When you get something new, it puts a little new ribbon, like Miss America, across the app.
I like that too.
Isn't that cute?
I don't know why I like that.
I love it.
In fact, the first time I was like, what happened? What is that?
Yeah.
And then once you launch it for the first time, then the new goes away.
Right. It's so you
guess
can find the stuff you downloaded. I think that's a nice touch.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. Another nice touch, and this is actually 1 week after I had gone through someone's tip who was explaining how to get photos into an email that you were already you had already composed.
Yes.
This is something actually that iOS 6 does fix. So if I'm going ahead and responding to Brian here at Circle Fusion, I would go ahead and, there you go, Chad. Go ahead and hold down, and then I have not only select all as pertains to the text,
But finally,
but insert photo or
attach.
video.
We got an attach
Then I've
button.
got camera roll
That's
and
great.
photo stream.
So they did. You mentioned that when you said the Dell tip that they were going to fix that. In
yeah,
iOS 6.
I just wasn't sure how it was
have.
going to look, and
They
makes
have.
perfect sense.
They fixed the podcast apps a little bit. It's better. It was kind of
They
crashy
sync
and
now.
bad. Now they
They
sync,
sync
which is somebody
on-
was asking today.
iDevices.
Yeah, how can I stop listening on one device and start listening on another at the same spot? It will do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a nice feel. I like. Well, I'm a podcast guy, and I like podcasts. So I think it's important that the podcast app be at least decent, because that's how most iOS users will first be introduced to podcasts.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, to this day, we still have questions from people who say, well, hold on, I want to subscribe to
Right.
How do I do that?
How do I do that?
And it used to be extremely confusing, and that was what the podcast app was supposed to take care of, because you'd go to iTunes and you'd be able to listen to one episode but not actually subscribe to iPad
Right.
Today. So we started recommending Downcast and Instacast
Downcast, yeah,
and
yeah.
whatever, pod blah, blah, blah. I only use
not
Downcast.
a real name.
That's not actually a real one, but I think there's one called Pod Friend, or anyway, there are quite a few of them. So yes, the native podcast app, well, it isn't actually native in iOS 6, but Apple's podcast app is supposed to be pretty seamless. So it's better now.
Now, did they change? Now, so the App Store is different. Is iTunes? iTunes is also different. It's got that dark kind of look now to it.
Yeah, the whole thing got an overhaul, and we had mentioned in, I think it was last week, that iTunes was going to be updated in October, which is
iTunes 11?
iTunes. Yeah, I mean iTunes for Macs
Right.
or PCs.
Right.
But iOS got the update when we all got iOS 6.
Right.
So that's kind of nice. We're getting used to it now.
Yeah, I have no problem
I think
with
it looks
this.
lovely.
I have no problem with this. And I guess what they did with the App Store is they just made it compatible.
Right.
So it behaved kind of the same.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah. All right, so before we move on, just want to make sure that you all know where you can go if you need any of the links to anything that we talked about, you need a little clarification, there's an app and you absolutely love it and you just didn't write it down when Leo talked about it a few minutes ago, twit.tv/IPT. That's where you can get all of our links to everything we talk about in each episode. Plus, you can watch past episodes. You can subscribe to future episodes. Of course, subscriptions are totally free. You guys know that, but
The subscribe thing confuses people.
it does, because you think
not like a
subscribe and
magazine.
you go,
It's
I don't
free.
know, I don't want to do anything else for another $5 a month. No, no, no. We don't make you pay for any of this stuff.
We won't make you pay.
And a reminder to everybody who isn't watching us live, if you would like to, we'd love to have you. We record on Thursdays between about 1 and 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. That's for between 4 and 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. And if you have any app ideas of your own, we are always taking submissions. We love your ideas. iPad@twit.tv.
It is time to mention our friends at Citrix, who do
Yeah.
a great remote access app. And the reason they want you to know about it is because it lets you use an iPad to run the apps, to answer email, to access stuff on your office computer, Mac or PC, from your iPad over the internet. It's really kind of cool. Go to mypc.com. That's where you should go right now to visit and find out more about the app. The way it works is, let's say you want to take tomorrow off. Why not? Commute at work at home, right? One day a week, it'd save you 20% on gas, like 80% on wear and tear on your noggin. So before you leave work today, go to your desktop, Mac or Windows, visit the website, go to mypc.com, and do the free trial. You just use the promo code iPad when you sign up, so we get credit for it. Now, for 30 days, you can use this for free, unlimited use, and then go home. Oh, actually, maybe while you're still connected to the Wi-Fi at the office, put the Go to My PC app on your iPhone or your iPad. It actually works on Android as well. And we don't mention that too much. But now, let's say you're on the subway, you're going home, or you're in the car, and somebody calls you from the office and says, hey, you left without giving me that PowerPoint presentation. It's on your desktop. What do? You fire up your iPad, you launch the Go to My PC app, you're actually working on your office computer, and you can send them the PowerPoint presentation through your office email. Things like that. It's amazing. It's really slick. It'll save you time. It'll let you go home earlier, avoid traffic. It's just fantastic. Go to mypc.com, the fastest, easiest, by the way, most secure. It uses SSL, so even if you're accessing your office computer from a sketchy dive bar in the middle of Soho, you're my dream. You're completely safe.
Which Soho are you talking about?
Any Soho, as long as it's a dive bar, count me in.
Okay.
Actually, I'm watching the bums go by on Santa Monica Boulevard, and I'm sitting there. It's me
and Sheryl Crow.
Sheryl Crow. We're just sitting there. I'm peeling the beer, and
you
then
like a good beer early in the morning.
The car wash ladies, and then somebody calls and says, "Hey, Leo, you left work before giving me the PowerPoint presentation." I said, "No problem." I pull out my iPad, and I go log onto my office computer, and then I can go back, and Cheryl and I can have another beer. Go to mypc.com, use the promo code iPad. When you traveled the world, and you spent a year traveling the world.
I did.
What? It was a great experience.
Best experience.
You got the parasites, but it's over now. So,
that's true.
So, what was the diviest, worst place you ate or drank? I mean, was there somewhere horrible?
Oh, so many of them.
So many? Uh-huh. Where was the worst one?
I mean, I probably saw the most squalor in India.
India, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I hate to, I'm not trying to throw India under the bus.
No, it's hard to go to India because it's for Westerners, first world folks, it's a little bit of a confront.
Yeah.
There's cows walking down the middle of the street, I hear.
Oh, there's cows all sorts of. There's
everywhere.
Cows
in your
the
bed.
Train stations.
In the train station.
It's just eating out of the garbage.
Right.
I actually kind of liked that because I like cows and they're docile
You're
creatures.
a vegetarian.
I don't eat cows, and India's great because they don't either. Cows are sacred. Gotta love them. No, I've a lot of really dirty places, which is why I ended up with brain parasites. That's how it works.
They thought I was joking, and you could read her blog. And
find out all about
it. She's all better now.
I think they've just wrote about it in Scientific American or something recently.
That particular parasite that you got?
It's the exact same thing. Yeah, about some poor woman from Mexico living in California who had it really bad, had seizures.
But you're all better.
Same thing. Yeah, I'm good. I'm all good. Hey, so Twitter for iPad. People don't like that
either. Not good. Okay, now you can see there's something about this show where I'm just complaining.
That's okay. You're a complainer.
But I immediately, now you and I both use TweetBot from TapBots. We love it. It's the best Twitter app.
That's the only one I want.
I fear for it because after all, Twitter is really saying to the third-party app guys, we'll take it from here.
Yeah, please don't spend any more time and energy on these apps.
So look at this. First of all, design-wise, what this used to be, this was Tweety. This was a great app. They took a beautiful design and they just, what's with these? The gutters, they don't do anything.
Well,
wasted space.
If you recall, the old iPad app also did have some wasted space on either side. It was black though. And then when you opened up different panels, then the space would fill up.
So
what Twitter has done is
open
basically
a panel.
simplified.
This is it.
But it doesn't do, it's all in line now.
It's all in line, so they still are wasting the space. So that's the other thing is,
because
go ahead,
they want it to look like the web.
Right, it is the web basically.
That's
try
what
to
they
click.
want.
Try to click this link. So here's the Mashable. Click the. No, it opens a card. Now I have to say I do kind of like this, and this is the new thing Twitter wants to do. The link is now hot here. I could click that. But what it also does is gives you a thumbnail of the content, and even with images, and you can see that. So I
I don't hate that. I just feel like for the most part, that's just another extra step that I didn't ask for. Context-wise, it can come in handy.
Well,
but
let's look at the same thing on...
I just feel like I should have the choice to turn cards off, maybe.
Here's TweetBot, and I think a much better use of the real estate. Instead of having gutters, they have, you know...
Well, they also have handy, you know, a search bar.
Right. And you see the links in here, you can tap them. They're live.
Yeah.
Or the hashtags. Those hashtags, tap video, and now you get the hashtag video. It just seems like a better way to do it, but I fear that Twitter ultimately really, because they want you to see the ads on Twitter, they ultimately really want you to use only Twitter apps and the Twitter website. So,
and that's why something like TweetBot, I am afraid for it also.
We got to fight for it.
Because even though, and
look at TweetBot,
they're okay right now.
They do a decent job. So this is a YouTube, so they've got a little bit of the video here.
Sure.
The nice thing is you tap it and it immediately plays the video.
It's fine.
Which is what I think what you want. I think everybody should immediately buy TweetBot.
Which, by the way, is on sale smartly.
They're very smart. What is it, 99 cents? Yeah, that's really smart.
Or was yesterday anyway. I haven't looked at it today.
And Twitter,
it's worth the $2.99.
This looks just like the website. Like they replaced, instead of they have this now connect, instead of mentions, it's interactions, and then you have to tap the mentions to see the mentions.
Yeah, the interactions too. Well,
these are meaningless to me. Like somebody favorited something or retweeted something or
now
followed
remember
me.
that you have a lot of followers, so someone's experience who really is using Twitter with like friends and family,
that would be friends and family,
might actually be the interaction is more helpful. So I think it depends on how you're using it, but I still think there's just so much buried. It's like, okay, how do I DM? I go to my profile and then
how do you do that?
Well, you go to your profile and then you can click your envelope there.
This is it. It's hidden way there like this.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's, you know, whatever.
And even this is confusing.
Not the end of the world. I just feel like, you know what it is? Okay, I think I've figured it out. It feels very corporate to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Twitter isn't a corporation, because it's exactly what they are, and they're trying to make money, and they should. You know, that's how it works. And they've got a lot of people working there that are very smart and wonderful, and they should succeed. But somehow Twitter has started to feel very corporate to me, and that is just not the joy that I get out of Twitter, you know?
It used to be more grassroots.
Yeah.
Of the people.
Right. Let's do silly hashtags because we can.
Right.
You know? And now Twitter's got like special hashtags about the Olympics that they're
promoting.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting though, despite
that
that,
sort of thing.
Despite that, all of the same kind of fun and games are still going on. You've seen Mrs. Jesus, the hashtag Mrs. Jesus?
No.
And then the
missed that one.
So there's two religious hashtags. There's Muslim Rage. Remember, Newsweek had the cover that said Muslim Rage, and it offended a lot of Muslims who said, no, that's some Muslims. That's not all Muslims. So those Muslims went on Twitter and started using the hashtag Muslim Rage, like, the falafel fell out of my pita bread. Muslim Rage, you know.
Or having such a good hair day and no one will ever know.
Under my burqa. Yeah, I love that. Funny, in a way of using Twitter to kind of make a political comment, and that was what I think made Twitter great. So, but I don't think that's gone. It's still going on. It's just that Twitter now also has this, you know, NBC Olympics corporate interest as well.
Well, yeah, and there's fewer choices for the user.
That's what bugs me. I still want these third-party apps.
Sure.
They bought TweetDeck, and they've kind of messed that up. They bought TweetE, which was the best app, and now that's what's left of it. So they're taking great apps, buying them or putting them out of business, and then it's not as good.
Yeah. Well, the Tweety thing was like an acqui-hire because they basically paid for that developer to come work for Twitter.
Well, they got the core.
He created a nice iPad app. I always liked that iPad app.
Yeah, he's a good designer.
But it didn't look like anything else that Twitter did, even the official stuff. So it was not long for this world.
Well, now it looks just like the Twitter webpage, and you're right, that's what they wanted.
You know what else might not be long for this world, and it scares me, is Snapseed. I don't know what Google's going to do with Snapseed, the iPad app, the photography app, what we've talked about on the show before. Now
we love it.
That Google has scooped up Nick Software, the maker of Snapseed, but other apps as well. This is just probably the most well-known app and the one that's made them a lot of money in a short period of time.
It's a filter app, and it's a very easy-used one, and it's really, I think we agree, the best one out there. There's all sorts of nice features and so forth.
I'll actually show you. I was at the...
Have you been using it?
Yeah. Well, I'm using it up a storm because I'm afraid it's going to be gone soon. I was at the hair salon and I was really bored under the heat lamp, and so I took a picture of myself with the iPad. Okay, right?
Frankenstein's Bride.
Yeah,
I like it.
I have no shame,
Yeah,
obviously.
that's great.
And then I'm like, okay, well let's use Snapseed to make it look cool, and I made this.
Ooh.
Bride of Frankenstein.
Ooh.
You can't I did like this weird layer thing,
Love
so I
that.
look all cracked and gross. But yeah, I mean that's just an example of something that you could create with Snapseed.
Well,
and
download
that's
it now
just,
and install it.
That's just one little grungy filter, but it's a really cool app, and it makes you seem like a pro. And you don't have to be one; you just have to kind of know where all the little levers are. You can even do selective. You know, if you need to brighten up just one little part.
It's really good.
I mean, you can't do that in
Although,
anything else.
The reason I haven't launched it lately is I've been using iPhoto to do a lot of that stuff. I love iPhoto. But Snapseed's different. It's got filters.
It's different, yeah.
But one thing that we've learned, we remember that Pinnacle, Pinnacle bought Avid Studio, and they rebranded it, but the old app is still there. They don't yank these apps. They can't take it off your system. So get Snapseed today so you have it. The developer, a German company called Nick Software, the thing I'm sad about is that they also, as you mentioned, make plugins for Aperture, Lightroom, and Photoshop that are the best. Trey Ratcliffe uses them.
He loves them, yeah.
And what I worry is that I don't think Google bought it for those, the plugins. They bought it for Snapseed. And they may keep Snapseed alive, may integrate it into their software. But I hope these plugins, I hope they've either sell them to somebody or something, because I would be ashamed to lose those.
Now, what do you think they're going to do once Snapseed belongs to Google, though? Because they wouldn't buy it just to yank it out of the App Store.
Well, people are saying
there are plenty of other photography apps.
People are saying it's their Instagram.
But that doesn't make sense, because Instagram is a social network. Snapseed is a tool where you run photos through filters to add them to a social network like Instagram.
Or Google Plus. So
that too.
If you're using Google Plus and you want to post a Google Plus with a photo, wouldn't it be cool if you chose an existing photo, and we'll choose something from my library, and all of a sudden you had the Snapseed filters that you could apply to it, right? Wouldn't that be interesting? So right now I could just upload it, but to be able to add this and a Snapseed interface, I think it's Google's idea to make these things.
I think Google says right now you've got Picasa. It's kind of simple stuff.
And Picasa has some editing, by the way.
Sure, yeah. It's not as robust as something like Snapseed, but it's there. I think it's pretty user-friendly.
There's not a Picasa app on the iPad. It's just a website. Or is there a Picasa app on it? That's an interesting question, to which I know not the answer.
In our search
I will
in the App Store. Gosh, everything is very sluggish in the studio today. I don't know what the deal is.
I'm probably downloading my mail again.
Well, I'm on The Office. I don't know. I don't know.
There is.
It's possibly it's iOS 6.
There are Picasa apps, but it doesn't look like they're from Google. They're from other companies.
But if you had something like, hey, listen, there's Picasa, and then a Picasa Pro, that sort of thing.
Well,
that Snapseed maybe gets a new name.
They bought another company. Was it Aviary? They bought another company for the web version of Picasa that did a lot of photo editing. And they've done this before. I don't
think Google owns Aviary.
It wasn't Aviary. It was another company that did something similar. It was a photo editing, online photo editing software. And they bought them and they incorporated it into Picasa. So Picasa Web. So I think that they've done this before. They could do it again. We're looking at the chat room to see if they remember what the name of that company was.
Somebody mentioned Picasso was San Diego based. They have an office in San Diego. But actually, those folks in San Diego will be moving to Mountain View and working directly under Vic Kundotra in the Google Plus team.
Wow.
So it's definitely going to be part of Google Plus.
It's for Google Plus. I think it'll be a part of the app.
We just don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Picnic, thank you. Boy, they are. M. Lewis in our chat room. They are so good. Yeah, they bought Picnic, which was a very neat app for web-based photo editing.
I never used it, but I do recall that.
Yeah. P-I-K-N-I-K.
Hey, so we should talk about Audible before we get into some of our viewer feedback on the show today.
You know I am an Audible fan. Yeah, Picnic ended up being part of the creative kit in Google Plus.
Picnic,
so
and it was like a pic with two K's.
P-I-C-N-I-K.
P-I-C-N-I-K.
And so if you use the creative kit in Google Plus, you're using Picnic. So Audible, of course, you know what Audible is. I talk about them a lot. They are the audio library, audiobooks library I love. And now they've added a new feature, Whisper Sync. This is so good. You saw me when you were doing the Amazon announcement and they mentioned Whisper Sync for Audible. I went, yay! But it's even better than I thought it was. So you can buy a Kindle version of a book. In fact, they offer 22 free public domain books like, say, David Copperfield or Huckleberry Finn. When you buy the Kindle version, they say, okay, now here's the Audible version for free. So I did that, by the way. I got all 22 Audible books. And when you're reading in the Kindle app, there's a play button, and you press play, and you can listen to the Audible version of it, and it highlights the words. Or you're reading your Kindle app, and you say, oh, I'm going to get in the car. Now you launch the Audible app. And by the way, you need to use the Audible app to do this synchronization. It will say, well, I see you've read this far in the book. Let me jump you to that point in the audio book. I just love Audible. So here you can see, they don't have it yet. It's only on the Kindle, I guess. They don't have it yet on the iPad app, but I think they'll update the iPad app. The Android, I think, has it, and the Kindle has it. Audible.com/iPad today. I'm sorry, audiblepodcast.com/iPad today, and you could try this all out for free. Visit there, or as I mentioned, the other way to do it, get those 20. Oh, you have to be a member. So you know what? Just do this first, and then once you're an Audible member, you can get the other 22 books. So basically, what I'm telling you today is how to get 23 books free.
Holy moly.
That's pretty good.
When's the last time you read 23 books?
23. I feel like I now have on my Kindle app, I have I could be on a desert island. I got them all. All I need is a plug. Audiblepodcast.com/iPad today. Pick a book. You'll be joining the Audible at the gold account level, which means a book a month or credit a month. But your first month's free. Your first credit's free. You can cancel at any time, pay nothing, and keep that book forever. The real problem is choosing which book. I think if you're interested in Apple, the Walter Isaacson book about Steve Jobs, the biography is great. You can get that one for free. There's hundreds of thousands of titles. Give it a try today. iPad today is the offer code. audiblepodcast.com/iPad today. Give it a try today.
So Tim writes us with something a little disturbing, gonna be honest. He says, I updated to iOS 6 today. So it's probably yesterday. I was hoping to use FaceTime on cellular, so I went to turn this on in the settings, and it said that I had to call AT&T. So I did, and they told me that since I have unlimited data, my plan wasn't eligible, and I'd have to switch to a tiered data plan, which would cost more money because if you start using FaceTime on cellular, then of course you quickly hit that data cap and go over. So my suggestion is keep your unlimited data, wait for a jailbreak because this is a scam just to get you to use more data and cost more money.
Use Skype, which does work over 3G.
Yeah.
I thought that was really misleading because they said FaceTime over 3G. But I also understand that AT&T says, well, that's fine, but you can't, if you have unlimited data, you're just going to spend all day on FaceTime. So we've got to somehow limit you. They should have thought of this. I think that really is rude. Now, I don't know, what's the status on Verizon? It's also FaceTime on 3G on Verizon, right?
Yes.
But
you can.
They don't have unlimited plans, so it doesn't
matter as much. Right.
I did notice.
You'll hit your cap.
I did notice when I bought Verizon.
Now, see, I've got an unlimited plan on this guy, and I've got AT&T.
Yeah.
But I don't do a lot of FaceTiming. It's just not something I do a lot of.
It's just to be aware of. It's basically you're gonna lose your unlimited plan. You may not want to do that.
Yeah, just think about if you really like FaceTime, you use it often, you think that it's superior to, any other video VoIP service that you could use, then go ahead. But keep in mind, you will have to call them, I guess. So you're going to have a conversation. It's not just going to happen magically.
And I think this happened to me, Homer J. I bought my iPhone 5 on Verizon because we have LTE here for Verizon, but not for AT&T. So I said, all right, I'll bite the bullet.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to lose simultaneous voice and data, but they also said, oh, and by the way, you're going to lose on that plan that I added this phone to. They said, you have unlimited data. You can't have it. So I lost that.
And you said, oh, no.
I said, all right.
Yeah, too bad. I will say, just as far as the not being on a call and being able to surf at the same time on Verizon, because of the CDMA thing, that did actually come into play this morning.
Really?
I'm stuck on the side of the road with a flat tire on my way to work, and I've got AAA on the line. They're saying that they don't...
You need your number.
They're saying, your account's inactive. I'm like, no, it isn't. I pay you guys every month.
Right.
Get somebody out here, emergency roadside assistance. So I'm trying to get...
You can't.
And I couldn't. And I was like, it was one of those moments where it's like, oh, if I just was able to switch over and multitask right now, that would be nice.
So it's a safety thing.
Could be.
Could be.
Today it was.
Could be.
I could have been robbed blind on the side of the road.
And Web6606 is right. He said, give Sprint some props. You can get an iPhone on Sprint, have unlimited data, and use FaceTime over 3G. So if that's important to you, maybe it's time to look at Sprint.
You know what? That's a really good point. And that's what Sprint has, and they know that they have that.
Well, and the reason they have it is because they're a distant third after AT&T and Verizon, so they got to do something. That's their big, you know, that's their big. Come on, we're the number 3 cell phone company, but we have unlimited data.
Yeah, we do stuff that the big guys won't do for you.
That's right,
and we can do that because we want your business.
That's why I was really glad AT&T did not snarf up T-Mobile, because you want competition, because the smaller companies like Boost and T-Mobile and Sprint, they're going to give you better deals because they need the business.
Got a voicemail from Brandon, who has a bit of a silver lining if you've got an older iPad and are feeling a little left out.
Yeah.
Hey Sarah, hey Leo, it's Brandon from Canada. I'm just updating my iPhone 4S to iOS 6 and realizing that the iPad 1 isn't getting an update. Therefore, if we're not getting an update for the iPad 1, will the YouTube and the Google Maps still be working, at least for...
Yeah.
At least forever.
Well,
actually.
that's the question. We don't know.
Well, probably.
I think they'll continue to work forever. Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, what's Apple going to do? They can't take your apps away,
right.
And they've pretty much abandoned the original iPad. So you can all say to yourselves, yeah, but we have the better maps. And we have that YouTube app that isn't very good.
But you don't have a clock.
But you don't have a clock. And you'll, well, we don't have Passbook either, so we're all in that same ditch.
See? Well, yeah. Keep that iPad 1.
Right, you don't want to get rid of that.
Keep that iPad 1.
We still have, actually, I think mine is part of the TriCaster now. It's where we switched profiles on that original iPad.
You donated, it's like leaving your kidney to science. You donated your iPad.
I donated the iPad that you bought.
You have a donor card in your wallet?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. When new iPad comes out.
Was that the one I dunked?
I authorized to donate.
Okay.
By the way, as if you...
It worked,
if you
though.
hadn't learned your lesson.
It works, though.
Did it really?
Yeah. So this is a company called Seal Shield. I should show this. We did this on the GizWiz. They make keyboards for hospitals and so forth. They
Thanks, Chairman.
and the idea of the keyboard is they're washable. You can put, because a hospital, of course, you want to be able to disinfect.
Okay.
And this Seal Shield is designed really for iPads used in medicine and other areas.
When someone's like projectile vomiting on you, not going to get on the iPad.
Thank you for that lovely image.
Hey, you said hospital.
And in fact, it says on the back here, well, no, it says on the back you can use Clorox, soft soap, Pine Quat, Virkon S, which I guess is a disinfectant used in hospitals, 64 general purpose disinfectants. So the disinfectants used in hospitals. So the idea is if you're in a place where you want to keep it clean or dry, because it's also waterproof.
Can you use it while the
you can
covering
use
is
it.
on?
It feels like just kind of a rubber coating. I guess the battery's dead on this, otherwise I'd be able to use it. But I was able to use it.
But yeah, you can.
It's a little weird because you can't charge it, of course, and you can't put the headphone port in because it's completely sealed. It has to be.
But if you want to be in a sterile environment,
yeah,
you don't
and I
want that
dunked this in
other stuff.
water, and I was able to operate it underwater. And in order to charge it, though, there's a little porthole here, and they have a removable piece that they give you a couple of them, so I guess maybe you can remove it a few times. and you can actually peel this back.
So you want to make sure that it's on really good before you dunk it again.
Because that's where the liquid will be, and then you can peel the rubber back and you can charge it. But it worked.
That's great.
And it's not that expensive.
How
It's about
much is
$30.
Yeah.
It's called Seal Shield Waterproof Protective Cover. This one's for the iPad 2 and the new iPad. But they have to have them also for the iPad 1. It has to fit. It's tight.
It's got to be tight.
Yeah. It's like putting on your rubbers.
I mean, it's probably a little much for a kitchen, but last night I was following a recipe on my iPad, and it just, where I was prepping, I had the iPad like really close to my sink, and I'm just like, kind of why I actually made a, well, anyway, it doesn't matter what I made, but it was messy, and I kept thinking, oh, this is just a bad idea.
Why didn't I see a picture of it on Path or Food Spotting or Foursquare?
Well, I don't really do
Don't
food
you
spotting.
post food images like everyone else?
Yes, I do. I do. I just try not to flood.
The world wants to know.
I don't think they do.
What you're cooking.
It was delicious, actually. I was very proud of myself. And you know where I found it? Recipe from Goji, which was my app cap last week. That is a great app. I love it.
Small coincidence, but I was at Whole Foods and I bought some goji berries.
Did you?
Yeah. Because of you.
Well.
They're tangy.
Yep. They're tart, but they're good for you in some way. Hey, also Ernie B wrote us, wanted to remind us of it being football season, and we've got some new options for football lovers. He says, I know you, Leo, are a big fan of MLB apps. Just wanted to give NFL their due.
You know, it's funny because I was going to, for my app cap, I was going to do, yeah, so go ahead.
I think last year we were like, football apps, and then we didn't this year.
But they're not, well, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. He says, I was in the App Store. I saw that NFL Rewind now has an app. This app is connected with an NFL Rewind subscription.
Right.
In the past, was only accessible via the internet on the computer. Now, I have the convenience of watching games from previous weeks and even previous years on my iPad. That's fun. Last year, the NFL 11 app allowed me to access NFL Audio Pass subscription. The NFL 12 app now lets me listen via either team's radio feed. You know, it's two different stories depending on,
I do like that.
The local announcers and
it's
who's
free
winning.
too, right?
To all live games each week. This is a godsend for people like me who travel for work and are often on the road on Sundays during games. Super cool. No, I think you need a Rewind subscription, right?
Well, and that's part of, you know, a lot of this is expensive.
This is
they have,
companion.
NFL also has a fan app, like you pick the team, and it's all the news about the Niners and all that stuff. It's $20. And then I have to say, I've been reading the reviews on all of the NFL apps, and they're not strong.
Yeah. Well, for that kind of money, they need to be strong.
Well, I'm just worried. And so I was going to talk about these for my app cap, and I couldn't find. Now, if you're a DirecTV subscriber and you already get Sunday Ticket, they have a Sunday Ticket app. So if you're already paying for that, that's worth it, because now you can watch games on your iPad. I think it's after the fact. I'm not sure. But so, of course, the real holy grail is that we can be cord cutters and still watch our NFL games, and we're not quite there yet.
Not quite
but I hope.
there yet. I have suggested on TNT in the past that Apple should just buy the NFL.
They could afford it.
And then we could just get everything on our Apple TVs and just AirPlay games all over the place. And they could afford it.
It's interesting.
They couldn't afford to buy.
No, it wouldn't work.
They could afford the franchise.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that you then have to go to each owner and say, by the way, we're not going to give you any more TV revenue. How do you like that?
Right. I don't know. I still have to think this one through, but I think it's a good idea.
I don't think Apple's going to buy the
Come on.
It's an interesting idea, though, that Apple has enough money, hundreds of billions of dollars in the bank, that they could maybe buy like buy Howard Stern, or buy a franchise that, if they could buy something that was big enough, that would be, you know, that would.
But then that's the spokesperson of Apple.
Yeah,
and
you don't want Howard Stern
Apple,
to be.
They don't want anybody to be their spokesperson.
So here's the NFL app that you were talking about, and I'm going to pick. Who's our favorite team?
San Francisco 49ers.
Nobody's got it better than us. Oh, look.
No, you say, who's got it better than us? Nobody.
You'll are a fan.
You'll learn.
I went to the game and I was wearing my LSU sweatshirt, and apparently that's not done.
LSU?
Yeah.
Oh, that was from...
right, one of our fans is...
W. Sellers.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So, I guess when you go to a baseball game, you don't have to wear...
No, in fact, it's encouraged. Hey, you're from Baltimore, you wear your Orioles
But you
cap.
don't have to.
No.
You could wear just street clothes, as I often do.
At a Niners game, they'll beat you up.
You could wear the other team. That's risky. But if you're just wearing an LSU sweatshirt, they think you're something wrong with you. Everybody's wearing the team colors. Everybody.
Unless you're from the opposing side, and then you're
wear
like,
your team. But you should wear some team's colors.
Well, that is weird. Why did you choose the LSU sweatshirt? Because it was
I didn't have any
comfortable?
Niners gear.
But why choose another team that's just going to confuse everyone?
It's a college team. I thought it was safe.
Come on.
It's a college team.
It's the NFL. Act like an adult that then acts like a child once the game starts.
I screwed it up.
Be part of the team.
I was there in a sea of orange and gold, and I didn't know what to do.
Should we mention just really quickly that emojis got expanded upon also on iOS 6?
There's new emojis?
Yes.
No, I didn't know that. Let's see.
So you've got stuff like...
I'm excited.
This really cool gondola.
A
gas
gondola.
station thing. If you look in the happy faces.
Now you have to turn this on in the international keyboards.
You got a girl getting her
section.
haircut, a massage.
But now, are these Japanese standard emojis, or are these new Apple
Well, remember
style?
when they talked about how there were same-sex emojis for the first time?
There are?
Yes.
Boy Meets Boy?
I thought we talked about this.
Adam and Steve?
Maybe I talked about it with somebody else.
Where?
It's in the happy face area. If you go 1, 2, 3,
Oh, yeah,
4,
yeah,
and
you're right. Look, there's two guys.
holding hands.
Oh, that's interesting. So these are new.
I guess they could just be holding hands, but I think that's the point.
Right.
So yes, the emojis have been expanded. If you don't use emojis, then you probably say, these are so stupid. But if you do, you know that they can come in handy when you're commenting on people's Instagram photos.
Angry Moon.
Or on Path. Or via text,
Poodle.
actually. I do a lot of emoji, you know, send somebody a string and they have to decipher what I'm trying to say.
You do a rebus. That's called a rebus.
A rebus?
Yeah.
What's that?
A rebus is where you do a message with symbols instead of words.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
R-E-B-U-S.
I learned something new.
It's pretty old-fashioned.
I'm gonna rebus you later.
Yeah, rebus you later.
Yeah. Yeah, when you getting off work, just rebus me.
Rebus me. And then I'll send you. But the problem with emojis is it's hard because, like, okay, so here's a skier and a French fry box, and then a bone stuck through a
That's the fun.
sausage.
Yeah, you get creative.
You have to get really creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. But eventually what you do, you get a vocabulary. Like whenever I send you the tiki god, that means I'm unhappy or something like that.
You're sure.
Yeah.
Right. Or a gun.
Or a gun.
Or
Or
a
tiki god
bomb.
with smoke coming out of it.
Sure. Something like that.
So there, do you know how many more there are? Because I don't know them well enough to know what's new.
I don't. I don't even know if they're peppered in or if they're completely
Feels like
new
they're
pages.
peppered in.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But then
I'm
this
just
may have been
not
around
sure.
for a
I don't
while.
know the emoji answer.
Like, what is that? Is that a tongue?
Where? I don't know what that is. At first I'm like, are these boobs?
I think it's a tongue.
Maybe. It doesn't look, I don't know
or
what
an
that
apron.
is.
It's an apron. Well, it's in between the nose and lips, so it's got to be a tongue.
It's probably a tongue. Thought it was a...
But these are from Japan, right? I mean, this is the Japanese sense of humor, right?
I suppose. There's a whale. Anyway, yeah, so emojis, you get those too. Quickly, just a reminder.
I think these moon phases are new. I think these moons are new. I love the moons.
Maybe so.
And the globe. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
How do you get a hold of us? Well,
how do you? And send us a rebus.
Send us a rebus. You have to send us a screenshot, I guess. But do that, and we'll decipher it. And by the way, last week I said call us with knock-knock jokes.
See, Chad actually put it in the chat room.
Aww.
You can put those in the chat
I'm sorry,
room. I
that
didn't
looks,
even know that.
That looks like boobs or a butt. I don't think that looks like a tongue. That's a butt. There are many, many butts. Look, Chad is showing multiple butts in chat. That's part of the fun of live, watching us live,
I didn't know
by the
you
way.
could,
that you can
that
be in
emojis
chat.
worked in our chat.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding?
Here's
Hello.
a story look at Lou's got a story from 9 to 5 Mac. Google has iOS 6 Maps app awaiting approval. It's up to Apple. That's according to 9 to 5 Mac.
Oh, good. I'm happy to hear it.
Now we'll see.
So if you, and thanks for the knock-knock jokes, by the way. They were all just okay, but knock-knock jokes always are.
Did you solicit knock-knock jokes?
Yes, that happened. People did. Thank you for those. We want to hear from you, so you have options. iPad@twit.tv is our email address. Our voicemail is 757-504-IPAD, where you can always send us a video, upload it somewhere, and then email us the link. No attachments, s'il vous plaît.
You know who else kind of has emojis a little bit?
What? Who?
Social.ford.com. They've got those badges. That's kind of like emojis, right? They're all Ford-focused.
I guess you could think of them as a visual representation of saying something.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Sure.
You could embed them with your emojis, mix and match.
Yeah.
So this is the new social site from Ford. I really like it. Look at it. People put articles about their Fords. What's the craziest thing you've ever done with your Ford truck? And it looks like they've raised it up and they're sitting under it to stay dry. That's kind of crazy. So it's where fans go to write and read about Fords. We love our Fords. If you're a Ford fan, as I am, you know this is a great place to go. There's also articles. I wrote an article here about new Ford technologies in the Ford Sync, the APIs and stuff. I talked with Jim Puchkowski. It was actually really a fun conversation about autonomous vehicles, APIs, and sync and things like that. That's here in the technologies section. Tech pundit Leo Laporte shares his insights. But you can also look at images submitted by other Ford owners, videos. And I like this section, your ideas too. The ideas section it's basically like a internet suggestion box where you can make some suggestions, vote on other people's suggestions. You look like you have an idea brewing, it says. Post your idea here. It's all at social.ford.com. And yes, grab yourself. It's not an emoji. It's a badge. That's what grown-ups call them. It's a Ford badge. They have one just for you and me. It's the Tech Geek badge. Look at this right here. Grab your Tech Geek. You're not just ahead of the curve. You're the one leading it. I want this badge.
Tech Geek.
You can share it on Google+, Twitter, Facebook, email it, send it to us. I love it. 7,475 people have the Tech Geek badge.
How many people do you think are getting emails from people who are watching our lovely programs and saying, oh, you're a tech geek? Yeah, could have told you that. Thank you for emailing that to me.
Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for letting me know.
But you know how it is. You want to be loud and proud, right?
Anyway, sources.ford.com, and you're going to be impressed when I drive up in my new Ford someday. So
you're going to like the way you look.
I am. I'm going to get that. I decided I got to get that plug-in Focus. I cannot. I mean the Fusion.
Every single week you say, I'm going to get a different Ford because you love them all, and then you read the specs and then you change your mind.
I do love them all. I love them all.
Very aggravating. Just want an answer. Okay, hey, so let's put on our app caps. We were talking about...
I got an app cap. I ordered it. It was $200. And I left it at home, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to wear it next week.
You have short-term memory loss,
Wait a minute, that's it.
No, it isn't. This has been here for months.
You know what?
I know that this isn't a Giants hat, but the Giants are doing so well. It reminds me of the Giants. I'm excited. So this is my app cap today. And yours is just, hey, that was knitted for us, actually.
It was. This is TWiT in Morse code.
Yeah, Morse code. I was going to say binary. Not a tech geek.
Morse code is actually a binary language. Dot or dash.
Yeah. Well, sure.
Could be ones or zeros.
Dashes or dots rather than zeros and ones.
So otherwise, it's exactly the same.
It's a lovely hat. I feel like you should be on the slopes. So we were talking about maps alternatives earlier, and you mentioned HopStop, which is great.
Yep.
And I actually learned about something called transit times from our very own Colin Weir, who was looking at maps alternatives last night. Or maybe it was this morning, and said, this is actually a pretty good one. It's an Australian company, but they have maps for cities all over the world. And they're actually very well represented in the Bay Area. So I said, well, okay, you know, if it works for me, then it might work for some other folks. What I've done here is I've downloaded, we're looking at transit service. I've downloaded a variety of, let's actually just go to the very beginning to where you manage your timetables. So it says, here are the things that you've already installed.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco based map. Those are kind of like the 3 cities I'd be in the most. But in Australia, you've got a variety of maps, same across Canada, New Zealand. There's quite a bit of stuff in the USA. Looks like it's just pretty much USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand for now. So sorry to everybody who lives across the pond. But once I have those downloaded, I can then go to a variety of favorite transit maps and information that I have saved. So for example, one of the buses, don't really take it that often anymore, in San Francisco is the 22 Fillmore. It's really ghetto, but it gets me where I want to go. You get it across the whole city on this thing. What I'm looking at right now is a saved live map of where all the buses on the line are. So if I'm right here at Golden Gate and Fillmore, I know that I've got a bus coming right towards me, which is really nice, going south.
And if you're standing at Golden Gate and Fillmore, you need a bus soon. Quick.
It's not as bad as it used to be. Okay. But you're right. It's you could choose better neighborhoods.
You don't want to be waiting too long for a bus.
Sure. Well, there's a McDonald's right there, so anyway, it's well
trafficked. So is the Scientology Center if you ever need to get down there.
Oh, really? Yeah. I had no idea. So that's one of the things that you can do, but it's not just live maps, although that's really helpful. You can also just decide to, I'll start from scratch here, say, I want to take a new trip. So this is some of the same functionality as something like HopStop. It says, well, in what of your 3 areas that you're interested in? So maybe I say New York City. Do I want to take a subway, train, or a bus? I want to say subway, and I want to take the 6th Avenue Express. And then at this point, I have all these options of where particular stops are and do I want to get from point A to point B.
Both of these apps we've shown are really better than the Google Maps transit functionality.
Yeah. It's just that people want it all bundled in so they don't have to remember what other app to open. But I feel like if you just, do a little housekeeping. You get a nice folder that's like your 3 transit options or your map stuff, whatever.
You're right.
It's almost better to, I don't want to say it's better to fragment this stuff, but then you get apps that are really good at doing a few different things. You can also download offline maps from Transit Times Plus, which is helpful. This app is not free, it's $3. And I think for folks who are just interested in zipping around the subway in a variety of cities, HopStop is maybe all you need, and you don't have to pay anything for HopStop. But if you want a combination of that plus bird's eye view, where the buses are, how the route is looking, all of that data also come in, which of course you need an internet connection for, then Transit Times is a really good option. And it'll also give you, we were looking when I opened up the app earlier, because I was looking at it ahead of time. By the way, it knows that I'm in Petaluma, so it says there aren't any nearby stops.
There's no stops
by
there.
you, because it's not including Golden Gate Transit, I guess. But it does tell me that in Los Angeles, which is one of my alerts areas, that we've got some issues. Of course, it's LA. So it's telling us the Blue and Expo lines are resuming normal service after delays through 5:30 p.m., blah, blah, blah. So if you do a lot of traveling, this is the sort of thing you might find really helpful to fire up before you decide how you're going to get from point A to point B based on traffic issues.
Thank you, Mario.
Yeah. Who's Mario? Oh, me.
Mario!
You're welcome. Leo G.
This is something you mentioned last year, and it is going on right now, so we probably should mention the iTunes Festival's going on in London. Every day there's another live performance. They have an app which you can get, and you can see that was a video of Andrea Bocelli. It's mostly kind of pop and rock, but there are a variety of other music, and you can
talked about it on I5 a couple weeks ago.
Good, yeah. I just want to make sure, because we mentioned it last year.
It's becoming obvious that you don't watch my show.
I do.
In your mind.
Aren't the same show, so not everybody who watches I5 watches this show, because you don't have hats. You have apps.
You know what? That's a very good point. Very good point.
So I just
there
thought,
are probably people who watch the show that say, screw i5 for the iPhone. Why would I ever want to watch that? I don't have an iPhone.
This is not my app cap. I'm just pointing out that the iTunes Festival is on now, and the app is here.
I will talk myself
and
down
the reason
off the
is
ledge
well, I wanted the notifications when the Mumford & Sons played, because I like them. They're a good,
you know,
nice
Muse
boys.
is playing on the 30th, and I added a little reminder to my calendar, which you can do right from the app.
Exactly. Okay.
Super helpful.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Here's my app. It's a game. You know me. I like my games. I like my games. First thing is you got to find the game. It used to have that new banner, but it's gone now. It's called The Room. This is actually an editor's choice. And when I see the editor's choice on iTunes, I know these guys know their stuff. If you played Myst, remember Myst, which was a puzzle game, and you'd wander around through a beautiful environment. Here it is. This is The Room. It's very much like Myst. You, I guess I could reset the game. We could start over here. Let's do that. I didn't get very far. So we're going to do a new game, and you'll see the tutorial will walk you through some of the capabilities. You're in a beautiful environment. You can hear the music is beautiful. And you're trying to solve some puzzles. Do you like puzzles?
I love puzzles.
So first of all, it's nicely suited to the iPad, because it uses tap and it uses swipe. And it says we're in the tutorial, double tap on the envelope to focus on it. So we're going to zoom in on the envelope. And then I'm going to pull what's in the envelope out.
Cool.
And I'm going to read it. And it says, I knew your curiosity would get the better of you. Please excuse the mess. My housekeeper abandoned me shortly after the rest of the world. The answers you seek are in the box. Blah, blah, blah. Here's this enclosed key. I gift you one parting favor. Keep the eyepiece with you always. Without it, you're as blind as the rest. Very cryptic, right? The stakes are higher than you could possibly imagine. So you tap the key. Now you have a key. This is your little keep things in here thing. Now, so there's objects in the world like this lid. I can rotate it, and what I'm going to try to do is line up the keyhole right here. Then I'm going to take the key, I'm going to drag it in there. Then I'm going to turn the key.
Oh my gosh.
And then I'm going to open this up.
They make you work for it.
Yeah.
And it's a brand new car.
And it's a low battery.
Oh.
And then you get, what is this, an eyepiece? Let's put that over here, and let's read what this says. Tap the eyepiece icon to wear it. All right, and then tap this. Doesn't do anything. Perhaps something's missing. What does the note say? We're going to remove the icon and tap the note. Feed me and I shall survive. Give me a drink and I shall die.
It's like a sort of scary Alice in Wonderland.
There's nothing jumping out at you. It's all puzzles.
Right, but I like that, actually.
Yeah. It's not scary in that sense, but it's atmospheric.
Yeah.
A riddle, the solution must be somewhere, so you can pinch together to zoom out, and now we can find the answer somewhere on the safe. Anyway, you get the idea. The tutorial is good at getting you started. It is a very challenging, Myst-style puzzle. Notice, for instance, if I zoom in here.
It is $5 too.
Yeah, $5.
So make sure you like puzzles.
Yeah. This is not an action game, okay?
Yeah.
Let's zoom in on this.
You're not very good at puzzles.
Ooh, there's something there.
Oh, what happens? Well, we could take this offline.
Okay, so you get the idea. This is called The Door. It's like the seventh guest. I mean, the room. It's like the seventh. I'm the door. You're the room. It's like the seventh guest.
Make a better door than a window.
A good description also. $4.99 puzzle game. It was an editor's choice, and I always go, well, let's take a look at it. And yeah, it lives up to its promise.
Top customer review, exquisite.
Yeah, a lot of positive reviews of this thing.
If you like this sort of thing, this seems like a really well-made
I'm getting the impression
app.
You don't like this sort of thing.
No, I do. I prefer this to shoot 'em ups any day.
Yeah.
Because this is, I don't know. I don't have to be so athletic.
It's fun. It's like reading a book a little bit because you're kind of environment. You kind of engaged.
It's good. We got to pass some time. It's like you look up 3 hours later and you go, "Where am I?
Yep.
What day is it?"
It is very much like Mr. the Seventh Guest. It's a interactive puzzle.
So that does it for this episode of iPad Today.
No, it's over.
Without further ado, we're going to say goodbye.
Oh, it was just too short.
I know. Actually, it was long. It was a long show. They get longer and longer because we love to hear ourselves talk.
I'm kind of discursive. It's my fault, and I take the blame.
Sure. This is where Leo starts going, I'm sorry. I'm just so sorry.
I'm such a loser.
I'm so sorry. Thanks, everybody, for watching. You'll see us here next week. Actually, you'll see me and Tom Merritt here next week because you're going to be out of town.
Oh, how fun. Tom's going to do it?
Yeah, Tom's going to do it.
Oh, that's great.
I said, you've never done iPad Today with me. And he goes, yes, I have.
Oh, he has?
Don't you remember? It was back in the cottage days, though.
It was in the cottage. I do remember him doing it.
It's been well over a year. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure that you join us next Thursday, 1 p.m. Pacific. We'll be right on time because Lou will be out of town. And then he'll be back the following week.
I will be at Universal Studios.
Riding a coaster?
I'm going to go on the Simpsons ride.
That's
Can
fun.
I borrow that hat?
Absolutely.
It looks padded.
It's not.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time
On iPad Today.